Opening next week, a new place to help San Diego's most vulnerable. The temporary campground that could be a role model for future homeless programs.
So I said, we need to go, we need to try to run, and I'll go your pace, but I'm not going to leave you, so.
Helping the wounded and scrambling to save loved ones. Off-duty officers from San Diego at the concert in Las Vegas when the shooting happened, sharing their experience today.
People are desperate, and they'd rather have their loved ones be anywhere but where they're at.
Searching for help with alcohol abuse, the online tool that has options, and the key questions to help sort through them all. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. San Diego is joining the lawsuit aimed at getting the federal government to clean up sewage spills at the U.S.-Mexico border. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson has details.
The city of San Diego is joining Imperial Beach, Chula Vista, and the Port of San Diego in a bid to sue the federal government to clean up the cross-border sewage problem. Now, tens of millions of gallons of raw sewage flowed through the Tijuana River Valley this past winter. The legal action targets the International Boundary and Water Commission and the private company that runs the IBWC's treatment plant just north of the border. Imperial Beach Mayor Serge Dedina announced the legal action last week, calling the situation intolerable.
They have allowed over 300 spills of toxic sewage and hazardous waste, toxic waste, which threatens the public health, our environment, and our economy, not just of Imperial Beach, but of the entire region.
San Diego City Councilmember David Alvarez said he was pleased that his colleagues voted to join that legal action. The intent to sue gives the two defendants 2 months to come up with a plan to correct the situation, or a lawsuit can be filed. Now, IBWC officials won't comment because they say they haven't received the official intent to sue, but the agency is conferring with the Justice Department. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Monday, San Diego is set to open its first ever campground for homeless people near downtown. It's part of an effort to stop the spread of the region's hepatitis A outbreak. KPBS reporter Susan Murphy tells us the plan for this temporary transitional camp may be a model for future camps.
The crisis here that we are facing here in San Diego around homelessness demands it, and I'm just so pleased that we are coming together and unlocking these opportunities.
City and county leaders announced details of the campground from a large city-owned parking lot in Golden Hill that will soon be covered by 136 new two-person tents.
It is going to help the most vulnerable. My goal is to make sure that we are protecting seniors and children.
The fenced-in parking lot will provide showers, bathrooms, storage, and 24-hour security. There will also be medical personnel, meals, and other services. San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer says it's essential to get people off the streets and to sanitize neighborhoods previously overrun by homeless encampments.
It's going to make a huge difference for the individuals that are on the street and a huge difference for our neighborhoods.
Faulconer says the short-term camp will stay open until the 3 large industrial tents, called bridge tents, are up and running starting in December.
There's no perfect site. But the time is for action, which is why we're doing this, not only here, but with our bridge shelter tents that are coming as well. We need to make a huge difference. We need to get people off the street, and we need to do it the right way.
The campground will be run by the nonprofit Alpha Project. Councilman Chris Ward says the plan is for the camp to serve as a model for additional camps. He's proposing several locations to accommodate hundreds more who are living without shelter.
I've asked for a revaluation of the SDCCU stadium, the former Qualcomm Stadium site, 160 acres of city land that may or may not be redeveloped in several years' time. But in the meantime, we have a little bit to work with there. The sports arena site where the Valley View Casino is, can we use a part of that parking lot because that is city-owned property? We have some interested sites up in Kearny Mesa.
San Diego Supervisor Ron Roberts says the county is providing support for the camp with personnel and services. He says they're making the same offer to other cities who open similar campgrounds.
Ultimately, our goal is move the people off the streets into a far more stable environment, and hopefully continue to move them until we're into permanent housing with wraparound services.
Susan Murphy, KPBS News.
The girlfriend of the alleged gunman in Sunday's mass shooting in Las Vegas said she had no knowledge that Stephen Paddock was planning a massacre. Mary Lou Danley's attorney read a statement from her today outside a federal building in Los Angeles after she met with FBI agents. Danley says she's cooperating with investigators and flew home voluntarily from the Philippines to talk to them. President Trump spent the day in Las Vegas meeting privately with hospitalized victims of Sunday night's shooting. He also talked with police, firefighters, and cab drivers who ferried the wounded to hospitals.
And I thank each and every one of you in law enforcement. In the depths of horror, we will always find hope in the men and women who risk their lives for ours.
The president waved off reporters' questions about the availability of guns, saying now is not the time to talk about further restrictions. Several off-duty officers from San Diego County attended the concert with family and friends. They say instinct and training kicked in when they heard the first round of gunfire.
Myself and the firefighter that was with me, we immediately recognized it for what it was, but myself personally, I was trying to look around and explain it away, thinking in my head, there's no way this is what it really is.
Chula Vista police officer Fred Rowbottom says he searched for an alternative explanation for the sound of rapid gunfire he heard at the Route 91 Harvest Music Festival. He was there with his wife and friends Sunday night. Then he heard it again.
Get down. Get down.
We immediately realized this really is what it is. We grabbed the hands of our wives and yelled to them and yelled to the people standing around us, we've got to go, we've got to get out of here.
Rowbottom was among several off-duty San Diego County law enforcement officers in the audience when the bullets started flying. Las Vegas police have released body cam footage from the scene. Shots can be heard as police try to locate the gunman and usher people to safety. Rowbottom says he led a crowd of about 60 people away from the concert and up to the airport.
And then I could feel in my back lower left hip, I got hit by something far more substantial. It almost felt like a baseball bat. I had been swung and hit. And as we were running, I reached down, I could feel the blood on my hand, but obviously minor, certainly not stopping to do anything.
Las Vegas police had 3 shuttles pick up his group. Other off-duty officers stayed behind at the venue, helping the wounded.
I just remember bouncing from person to person, making sure everybody kind of had a buddy.
San Diego police officer Max Verduzco was on the ground helping an Orange County officer who was shot.
There's so much going on. I remember him telling me that he was worried about his wife, and I wanted to keep him talking. I was just holding his hand and making sure the girl that was she wasn't his wife. She was just there to help and making sure that she was putting enough pressure on him, and I just feel bad I left him.
San Diego police officer Tom McGrath tried to shield his wife while helping the injured.
And when I turned around, I saw a young female, probably in her 20s. She had taken a round to the chest, and she was holding her chest, and I could see a large amount of blood come out. I took off my shirt, and I pressed it on her chest, and I felt more hands go on top of mine, from everywhere, trying to help me put pressure on this wound. And we were trying to lay her down.
McGrath lost track of his wife. He found more people to help, including a man who was shot in the neck.
So I said, we need to go. We need to try to run, and I'll go your pace, but I'm not going to leave you.
McGrath says he flagged down a truck who was willing to take them to safety. He finally got a hold of his wife on the phone.
I think the biggest takeaway was nobody suffered alone. There was a lot of good people out there. A lot of people were heroes, but I think a lot of people, will underestimate the power that, people had, because people stayed on the ground. They stayed with people who died. And, I don't think anybody should have died alone.
Our coverage on the Vegas concert shooting continues on air and online at kpbs.org. While members of Congress were trying to repeal the Affordable Care Act last week, they missed an important deadline to fund community clinics. KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg says as a result, the clinics are operating on borrowed time.
Community clinics will run out of federal money at the end of December. For many clinics in California, federal funds represent about 30% of their operating budget. Vernita Todd is Senior Vice President of Health Center Partners of Southern California. That's a network of 17 community clinics in San Diego, Riverside, and Imperial counties. Todd says if Congress doesn't act soon, clinics and the people they serve will suffer.
So what we know is people will lose their jobs. And for us, that it translates into fewer staff. But for the people in this community, it means fewer patients will get care.
Clinics in Todd's network treat more than 868,000 patients a year. Kenny Goldberg, KPBS News.
San Diego is looking for a new police chief because the current top cop is set to retire. Who should replace her? That's what KPBS reporter Taryn Minto is asking community members in City Heights.
A nurse, a mom, a retiree, and a few others shared with us what they hope to see in their next police chief.
I would hope that they would be culturally sensitive, especially in San Diego. I feel that there's a lot of minorities, and I think it's important to understand where everybody's coming from and cultural sensitivities, and well-versed in mental health.
Making sure that we are doing everything that we can to address equality and educational opportunity for every single student in the city of San Diego. And that includes looking into things like, school to prison pipeline.
Cognizant of the fact that we live in a huge refugee and migrant community, a lot of the community that is undocumented and that lives a lot in fear.
Person with common sense and a person who can control his staff.
I think they have did a good job in San Diego by cleaning up a lot of the gangs and everything else. It's changed a lot. So now I see it's open for just more people, more diversity, and more good things to come. Hopefully more community events and the police getting together so that the people and the community, we all work together.
The public can share their thoughts directly with city staff at a forum tonight. There are 2 others scheduled this month. Taryn Minto, KPBS News.
California teachers may be able to spend more time with their newborns with a bill calling for longer paid maternity leave. The bill is on Governor Brown's desk now. It keeps up to 6 weeks of paid leave for K through 12 teachers and community college professors. The California Federation of Teachers says currently teachers must use sick pay benefits if they want to take time off after giving birth. At the community college level, unions have bargained different agreements for paid maternity leave.
They'll be able to recover physically from their pregnancy. They'll be able to spend time with their newborn and their family. And I have to think that it breeds loyalty to the institutions where they work, knowing that this is something that's being provided to them, and it makes it easier for them to come back into work seamlessly and, pick up where they left off.
Governor Brown's Department of Finance, however, opposes the bill, saying it could cost the state schools between $43 and $163 million every year. Brown has until October 15th to sign or veto the bill. As powerful storms wreak havoc across the globe, we keep hearing about the importance of 2 degrees. It's a threshold set by many policymakers in the discussion on global warming. NPR science correspondent Christopher Joyce explains the change 2 degrees of warming might bring.
The temperature varies way more than 2 degrees every day, right? Well, we're talking about average temperature here. When you take the average temperature every day for decades over the whole planet, it doesn't vary much at all, way less than a degree. So a 2-degree increase in the global average temperature is actually a pretty big bump. This 2-degree difference means spring comes earlier, for example. That's nice. But if you're a bee, your life cycle is tied to when flowers bloom. And if they bloom before you're ready, you're late for dinner. You die. And plants don't get pollinated. That's just one bee-sized example. The big picture is the living things around us have adapted their lives to a world in which average temperature has been pretty steady for thousands of years. And now all that's changing, way faster than the normal changes that take place on Earth. The 2 degrees affects us, too. It'll be too hot to grow some crops where we used to, and the weather will continue to become more unpredictable. Take hurricanes. Warm ocean water is their fuel. Hotter water means stronger, wetter hurricanes. So it's no surprise that hurricanes Harvey and Irma and Maria were whoppers. It's also useful to think about sea level. Those extra 2 degrees warm water and make it physically expand. And those 2 degrees also melt ice on land, which causes sea levels to rise further. In fact, they already have. Climate scientists can't say for sure exactly what will happen when, but they do know it means big changes. Changes unlike anything our civilization has seen before.
More seasonal sunny weather for San Diego. Erin Calandra has more in tonight's forecast.
We are seeing some beautiful conditions here in Southern California. Taking a look at the satellite and radar for the last couple of hours, we see nothing. We're under the influence of a high pressure system, and that means we're going to be staying dry and sunny. Temperatures are shooting up by Friday. It's going to be well above average. So here we are, all of the southwest here under the influence of that same high pressure system. So for the deserts, it's going to be extremely warm. To the north, though, it's going to be a bit cooler. We have a dip in the jet stream. We'll get to that in just a minute. But for tonight, 61 degrees for the overnight low, partly cloudy skies. By the morning, of course, they're still going to be there, but by the afternoon, it will be nice and sunny. So Oceanside tonight, 51 degrees, San Diego 61, a warm night, Poway 55, Borrego Springs 61, and Mount Laguna 48 degrees, and it's staying dry for everyone. Now here we are with the jet stream, a big dip here. That's allowing some even snow and some higher elevations to the north of us. To the east, we are going to see some showers and storms with that low pressure system. But where we are, it's going to be sizzling. As I said, temperatures on the rise for pretty much everyone here. So Oceanside, 77 degrees tomorrow. In San Diego, a high of 77. Poway, 88 degrees. Ramona as well. Alpine, 85. And Mount Laguna, 73. Borrego Springs, 96 degrees. Sunny conditions. Here along the coast, by Friday, we're going to be back in the 80s. By Saturday, 83 degrees and sunny. Perfect conditions to head to the beach. Sunday, 78 degrees and sunny. Inland, it's going to be in the 90s for Friday and Saturday, and again, sunny and very summer-like. In the mountains, we reach 89 degrees by Saturday, so very warm conditions, but look at those lows, still pretty cool. On Friday, the low is only 41 degrees, so a cool night. And then here we are in the deserts. Temperatures reaching 102 by Saturday. So again, it's going to be warming up and very sunny conditions. If you're in the deserts, make sure you are staying well hydrated. For KPBS News, I'm Erin Calandra.
Many homeless teens have pitched their tents in Seattle's Gasworks Park. Karina Wallace spent 3 years there. In tonight's Spark Public Report, producers Stacy Jenkins and Jen German explain the connection between her homeless experience and childhood trauma.
I didn't understand what was really going on with me. I didn't think that what I was doing was wrong. But it was really because I didn't want to deal with the emotions and everything that happened to me. I was born in Tomsk, Russia, Siberia, and my mother was an alcoholic. She would black out and she was very abusive to me. But I got taken away from her when I was about, I think, 5.5. And I got taken to an orphanage. There was a lot of just terrible things going on behind the scenes with the staff and the kids there. You know, like sexual abuse and physical abuse.
This was the courthouse. This is where I went and officially adopted Karina. And then afterwards told Karina that she was now officially my daughter. I knew I couldn't handle a toddler. I mean, they have so much energy. So I thought, well, maybe I could get a young child, like maybe 5 or 6.
I remember
my first impression of her, all the kids were crying except her. And she had this bag of candy and went around and talked to each one of them real quietly. He gave them each a piece of candy. And I told the woman, I said, you know, I think this is the one. I knew I wasn't getting a blank slate. I knew I was getting a kid who had some issues. I just didn't know how deep they were.
I had a lot of mental health issues. I've been diagnosed with PTSD, and it's like an emotional detachment disorder. I started to use drugs, and I started running away.
I mean, she was skipping school, wasn't doing her homework, skipping out the window when she stole all my family heirlooms and my mother's diamond ring, all of our sterling silver, jewelry, everything. And I thought, I cannot, I've done it, I'm done.
She did say, like, I can't have you stay with me anymore, and you're 18, like, you need to get your life in order. When we had the car, we had a lot of blankets. So we would take our blankets and set up like a little bed right here. And we slept there sometimes. Yeah. Being homeless every day, waking up not knowing where you're gonna go, it's something that ran through my head every single day. I did drop out of high school with 15 credits, and I was getting ready to graduate. I was so close. We were both like in just not like very good relationships, and having him like as a really close friend really is what helped me. It's kind of, I guess, what I really needed. Having somebody like wanting to take a picture of us and hear our story, it kind of made us listen to our own story. It made us want to make our story better. Yeah, today I'm taking the GED math test. Seeing my boyfriend finish his GED really motivated me to get into the healthcare field. I feel like I'm in a really healthy spot in my life right now. And I do live in my own apartment. It is my first apartment that I've ever had. I noticed that it was kind of a series of steps as she progressed along over months. It wasn't like, boom, I would say, 6 to 8 months, but it just slowly got better. I have a great relationship with my mom, and I feel that's one of the things that makes me the happiest. That's why I really want to make something of myself, and I want to go to college. I want to do something challenging for my life, and I think I just want to keep making her proud.
This Spark Public Story was made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. AA and long-term rehab are just two better-known treatment options for alcohol abuse. Now there's a new online tool helping people find out about other options. AP reporter Carrie Antelfinger says it includes key questions to figure out what's the best fit.
According to a government study, more than 15 million adults in the U.S. have problems with alcohol, yet less than 10% of them get treatment. The National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism is hoping to change that by making it easier to connect people to help.
So oftentimes people think their only options are either Alcoholics Anonymous or some other mutual help group or a long-term residential rehab program, and sometimes people either don't want or don't need those options. And so what we've done in the Navigator is show you all of the other options in between.
A new online tool called the Navigator allows people to search through 100,000 therapists, 5,000 accredited treatment programs, and 4,000 addiction doctors. It also helps people evaluate providers.
Then you need to call them and ask them questions to find out if they'll be the right fit for you. And we give you those questions to ask and the answers to listen for.
While the premise for the tool is straightforward, families struggling with alcohol disorders say until now there's been very little objective information available in one central place.
I Google it and whatever, and it has information, but it's, largely driven by, advertisements.
Robert Ware knows the pain firsthand. His 21-year-old daughter has gone through a series of treatments.
There are not so great programs out there, so it's easy to get misled. People are desperate, and, they'd rather have their loved ones be anywhere but where they're at.
While the site doesn't solve issues of accessibility and affordability, the agency behind the Navigator says it arms people with information to lead them in the right direction.
Do they do a comprehensive assessment? Do they offer you a customized and responsive treatment plan, meaning it's not one-size-fits-all treatment?
A tool to help families navigate through tough times. Carrie Antelfinger, Associated Press.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.